at ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Good afternoon. I have to say afternoon. I can't say morning, but technically it's right at noon on the dot. So, afternoon, it's technically afternoon. Hey, good afternoon. What kind of poll is best? What kind of poll is best? I'm just asking for a friend. We'll get into that in just a minute. What kind of poll is best? I can tell you which ones aren't the best kind of polls. I can tell you all of that coming up here on this Hump Day edition of the show. We'll get the Humpty Dance going, but right now the intro and pour a little coffee.
25 seconds left to play.
You're listening to the Matt Wyatt Show.
I want winners.
This crowd is alive.
Play to win the game.
Wyatt from the shotgun, two backs alongside.
Knock him out, John.
Wyatt gets the ball.
It won't be long.
Wyatt back to throw. Wyatt looks, fires toward the end zone. Passes, caught for touchdown by Matthew Butler.
Speak to
The Matt Wyatt Show. He's Radio Wyatt.
Well, how am I going to go to college? I'll just play football.
Let's go. All right, welcome in on this Wednesday edition of the show. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio, Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau. Available to you in all 82 counties across the great state of Mississippi. Hit them up, favrates.com. Welcome in. If you're in watching the live stream, hey to y'all. Feel free to comment. Hit me up today on the Country Please and text line, 885-ESPN. It's a 601 number, 885-ESPN, or call me on the Davini phone. Love to hear your voice. Call me on the Davini phone. Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. They're the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S. I don't know if you knew that. Now you know. That just means they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else. Right here at home at Davini. Highway 51, Madison, Spring Ridge Road in Jackson. Go see them. And call me on the Davini phone, 995-1059. JB will pick it up. He'll say, hey, what's your name? And he'll punch it through, and we'll talk in the air. Speaking of JB, let's check in. JB, how you doing, man?
Hey, pal, man. I got a little crick in my throat or something.
Crick? I've heard of crick in your neck.
Yeah, it's kind of where your throat feels like somebody just smashed your trachea.
Really?
Yeah, I'm getting better now. Maybe I just needed to talk some.
That's it. Just go out in the hallway and holler, and just yell at the top of your lungs, right?
You got it.
Yeah, I brought up the idea that sports polls, let me just tell you, okay, I go off on sports polls from time to time. Let me give you examples just for context, okay? It's my simpleton way of looking at a few things. Number one, college football poll. We will have a preseason poll. It's preseason. We haven't seen any of them play. We're only assuming stuff about teams based on last year. Yet we have a preseason poll, a top 25, that will affect how people vote when the real poll comes out. See, it's stupid. I agree with David Cutcliffe. You shouldn't even have a poll until about week 3 of the season after you've watched everybody play, if the poll is going to factor in. I agree with that. Okay, let me give you another example. Top 25 college basketball poll. All right, hang on. Stay with me. Top 25 college basketball poll. In a sport with 300 and something teams playing, and 68 of them are going to the tournament. Yet we have a poll of the top 25. It didn't make any sense. None whatsoever. Pete from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou agrees.
That don't make no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. But still, having said all of that, sports polls still, at this point, with the most recent evidence that we have, sports polls are better than political ones. Political polls, political polling. Good for nothing. Good for nothing to this point. All right, said enough about that, and I'm moving on. We'll talk sports today. Thanks, Joy. Joy likes my hat on the live stream. That is kind of a new sort of lime green color on the front, mesh on the back hat from Country Pleasing Sausage and Country Meat Packers. You can get a hat like this if you go to Country Meat Packers or look them up online, countrypleasing.com. Speaking of, y'all, send me a text on the Country Pleasing text line. It's 885-ESPN, 601-885-ESPN. You know, I was thinking about that, the whole polling thing. It's interesting how that works because it really has everything to do with expectations, right? That's what polls are. They set the expectation in a certain place. And then a lot of times teams, and in this case a political candidate, kind of judged based on that, right? It's funny how that works. I got a lot of funny responses, JB. I put it on Twitter and it just said sports polls are greater than political polls. And some people responded. Somebody says fishing polls are greater than sports polls.
Yeah.
Now, we're on to a different spelling and a more literal sense of the poll there, more tangible poll. And then somebody responded to that and said stripper polls are greater than fishing polls. Look, we've gone from POLL to POLE, and we didn't mean to do that.
No. Yeah.
So anyway, Jason in Flagstaff says polls are useless. Too many people ask too many questions of too few people. Attaboy. How about this? Pug from Jackson. I don't know that we have ever gotten a text on our show, JB, from Pug, but he's listening today.
Well, that's awesome.
I'm assuming Pug is a he. I kind of would hate to think of a woman named Pug. That's really not, you shouldn't do that.
It's not too flattering.
No. Pugs are ugly.
I go home and tell my wife, Leanne, you know, you're as cute as a pug.
Watch what happens.
Yeah.
Duck.
Maybe. Well, I think she slammed her elbow in my throat.
Yeah. That's what's in your throat. Middle of the night, you weren't looking. Bam! Karate chop.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of karate, you know Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio, turns 59 years old today?
Wow. I didn't realize he was older than me.
Today is the Karate Kid's 59th birthday. Hey, JB, hang on real quick. Hold on. Be
You
still.
going to do a Mr. Miyagi?
All right. I want to introduce some people on the live stream to somebody who just walked into my office. You can't see or hear if you're on the radio, but if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, in my hands right now, my door was open to my office, and the new member of the family, Dub, the Wonder Kitty, and he's kind of freaking out a little bit. Dub, the Wonder Kitty, wandered in here, and now I've picked him up, and he is growing. He is, a lot bigger than when I first found him at the Warren Central football game several weeks ago. He's kind of meowing. He's scared just a little bit. That's Dub, the Wonder Kitty. He's doing well. Hey there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so anyway, he wandered into the office. I thought I'd show him to the people. He ran in here. He and Big Al, the alley cat. I call him the dumpster kitty from Tupelo, and Annabeth hates it. She didn't like for me to call him. Al is huge. He's this big, huge cat. And Dub, even when he grows up bigger.
Call him Fat Al then.
Yeah, I call him Fat Al.
Hey,
Fat
you better get out of my way.
He ain't fat yet. He's just big. And Dub's not going to be as big as him.
Yeah,
but Dub, the little bitty kitten, he doesn't know. He has no idea that he's not as big as Al. And he just attacks him. When they wrestle around, and eventually it always winds up with big one, getting on top of little one and getting him down and biting his neck, and it's not ever going to result in anything mean. They're just playing, but Dub always gets the worst of it. And these lights in here, there was something about, he's really a sweet kitten, but there was something about picking him up in front of these lights in here in the studio. He didn't like that very much at all. So anyway, he's crawling around in here. He's up on the chair. So we got a guest in the studio. No, I mentioned Pug from Jackson. He said the best poll is Vegas odds. Those are always interesting to me because you think about, odds, because it's not supposed, the Vegas stuff is not supposed to be them. Supposedly it's not them saying this team is going to, win by X amount of points. They are setting that at a place where Vegas can make it really hard on bettors, right? Like they're setting it according to the. Let me just stop there because I know nothing about it, but that's my understanding of it anyway. But it usually kind of works out that way, doesn't it? We look at it as, well, they're saying State's going to beat Vanderbilt by 16.5, right? Because that's the way we say it, because it's a 16.
At 19.5 now. Believe that. It's
Really?
gone up 3 points. That's three more points since yesterday.
Yeah. Well, how do people feel about that? You know, we didn't get into it much yesterday. I think now on Wednesday it probably is time to start looking ahead to the weekend. You know, in the preseason, the expectation for State was it's an automatic win, Vanderbilt on your schedule. Remember when the schedule came out and it was the 10-game schedule, all SEC stuff, and you were looking at who's our opponents and who's been added and everything, right? And there was this big reaction to the schedule that Arkansas got because it was so tough, and they threw Florida and Georgia onto their schedule, and they already had Alabama. You know, and Missouri got a tough draw, all this stuff. And State's schedule comes out, and you go, well, there's a trip to Tuscaloosa that was on the – oh, but you get to host – they've added Vanderbilt. You're going to host – they gave you Georgia on the road, but they gave you Vandy at home. Vandy at home's an automatic win. And that's the way we looked at it in terms of expectations in the preseason. Does everybody feel that way now? Automatic win. You know, I think that State's got an excellent chance to win the game. It's at home. You really do feel like that they are going to find a way to win. But you know, for someone who's watched their offense against Arkansas and then against Kentucky and then against A&M and then against Alabama, those are all decent defenses, some better than others, but not able to really even put up much of a fight in those 4 games. You know, and you go, okay, so is the defense going to shut out Vanderbilt? Is Vandy that bad that State's offense, even as much as they have struggled and as thin from a personnel standpoint as they are now, it appears they're without Costello. It appears, well, they are without Colin Hill, others. As thin as they are from personnel, as much as they've struggled, are they going to go out and the defense shut out Vandy and the offense put up 3-4 touchdowns in the game? I mean, how do you feel about that? I know, again, we didn't talk about it yesterday. Today's Wednesday. It is time to go ahead and look ahead to the weekend. I just kind of feel like I feel like in my gut, State's going to win the game. They're going to beat Vandy, but I expect it to be because the offense is trying to find something at all. They haven't found it since week 1. I just feel like it's going to be an ugly win in some way. You know, and happy to be wrong about that. Happy to go out there and watch State go up and down the field, make it look easy. If that happens, hallelujah. Great. But I don't expect that at all. Expectations are a funny thing right now. You know, the other question would be overall, where State sits, if you're an Ole Miss fan, where Ole Miss sits. Are your expectations now, 5-6 games into the year, the same as they were at the beginning of all this? Or have they changed in one way or the other? I'd love to know. All right, JB, we got a news update, huh?
Yeah. I just pulled this off the wire and take a couple seconds to read it. But
okay.
Early November's finally here. I've seen a lot of hate spewed in recent days about a man who is a constant winner and overachiever. And that's what the people who support him like about him. Yes, he's been caught in some lies and maybe twisted the truth a little, but he's still out there proving his haters wrong time after time. Some people are just jealous of someone who is successful and has the money. Throw in a hot foreign underwear model at his side, and they hate him even more. You may not have wanted him in his role, but he's there now, and there's nothing you or I can do about it. I know it's possibly just going to get worse over the next several days, but like it or not, Tom Brady is turning things around in Tampa.
You had me. You had me. I'm thinking, man, this man's reading something about Trump. Where's this going?
That's from our boy Fletch.
That is great. Fletch sent you that, huh?
Oh, yeah, he had me going until I got to the end.
The very end.
And then I had to start thinking about, what Gator Lover, and the TB12. So.
Yeah, what did he say? TB12, the GOAT?
Yeah.
Where is he? Who is that, Gator Man?
No, it's not Gator Man. It's Gator Fan, maybe.
Gator Fan? Gator somebody.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you got me. All the way down to the end. I thought, we're going Trump here. What in the world? No. And then it's Tom. Good old Tom Brady. Got an underwear model beside him. That's funny. Country Pleasing text line, State Grad 98 says, because I'm lazy and don't want to look it up, who was the quarterback before and after you? Forgetful State Grad 98. Yeah, let's think about that today because we played Vanderbilt twice. State has played Vanderbilt. I think this is right. I think State has played Vanderbilt fewer times than anybody else in the SEC. Everybody else in the SEC has played Vanderbilt more times than State has over the years. We played them twice. Played them in, I know this is not your question, but we played them in 98 and 99. Beat them both times pretty handily, in fact. But, so the quarterback before me was Derek Tate, and he was a senior in 96. I was a redshirt freshman. We both played that year. He was a starter, but I started a couple of games in 96, played in, I guess, just about all of them, maybe one or two games I didn't play in. And then I was a starter for a year, and in 3 games into 98, I got benched, and the guy that was next or after me was Wayne Madkin. Wayne was a let me get this right. He was a redshirt freshman in 98. Is that right? Yeah. So he'd have been a sophomore in 99. And then right after Wayne was Kevin Fant. So it was kind of right in there. Matter of fact, the first college game Wayne played in was against Vanderbilt, the season opener in 98. There were 4 of us quarterbacks on the depth chart going into that first game in 98. Me, Rob Morgan, Wayne Madkin, but in between at that time, Kelvin Love, who had played like 8 different positions at Kahoma before he became a full-time receiver. Y'all go back and look it up. To start the 98 season, Kelvin was like the 3rd-string quarterback. Sure was. And then he became full-time receiver, and thankfully so, because he was big time. He was big time. Yeah, the kitten Dub made an appearance here in the studio. I picked him up and showed him to the people watching the live stream. Rep Dog says, "Yay, Dub. We foster rescued cats. Thanks for helping." Yeah, Dub was like, he's much bigger now. Y'all saw him. He's really growing, but he was like, I don't know, about 6-7 inches long. He was like 6 weeks old. On that Friday night when I went to Warren Central versus Germantown, I filmed it for the Hometown Heroes series of videos. After the game, I'm leaving this long line of cars leaving the Warren Central football stadium, and they have 2 lines that they send out to Highway 27, and one of them kind of winds around on this dirt road and goes up the side of the property there. And it's all these cars. I'm in this long line of cars on this dirt road, and the one in front of me keeps going, and I look and hit the brakes, and there's this little 6-week-old kitten just sitting in the middle of the night in the pitch dark, looking up at the car lights in the middle of that dirt road, and cars are actually straddling him, running over him, not hitting him, but just running over him, as he stays hunkered down in the middle of the road. And so I stopped the car, jumped out, get him, and, here he is. And now Al has a playmate who is half his size but thinks he is twice his size. That's the way Dub goes after him. Sometimes.
Al and Dub. Sounds like your little daughter ought to write a nice little storybook.
Yeah, storybook.
About Al and Dub.
They have the storybook idea. They have a bunch of those. I don't know if we'll ever get to the point that we write them down and turn them into books.
Yeah.
But we got plenty of ideas. Yeah, thanks for that link, JB. I'm going to get to that. I know.
I just didn't know if you'd seen it, pal.
Yeah, Conference USA is announcing today the rescheduling of a couple of Southern Miss games that got postponed because of COVID. And all I saw was, I know I saw one of them is being made up on December the 10th, but I didn't see where the other one is. I'll click that link and we'll kind of get into that because I know we're about to break. here in just a sec, and we'll come back and see what that schedule is, the remake of those. Yesterday, the SEC sent out all of their updated stats. There's a few things of interest, a lot of stats that aren't, but there's a couple things I want to bring to your attention. I looked through that email just a little bit ago. Freshman stats are pretty interesting also as it relates to State and Ole Miss. But I'll get you some of that information. They just sent it out. Today, here on Wednesday, you've had the SEC coaches teleconference, so the telephone conference, and usually comments and quotes and that kind of stuff comes out of that. And so as those pop up, I'll bring it to you here on the radio show today. So that's kind of where we are, is starting to turn the page officially, look ahead to the weekend as opposed to looking back, and we'll do some of that throughout the show. 3-Hump Camel Country Pleasing Text said the line of the Vandy game is more points than State has scored in their last 3 games combined. That's what I'm talking about. Somebody said assuming a win at home versus Vanderbilt equals rat poison. That's a Bama fan who sent that in there. And then Rich, who's tuning in from Moorville, said Mississippi State wins 14-0 on 2 defensive scores. I mean, all the signs point towards a game like that. Maybe it won't be, but that's what the signs say anyway. Signs, everywhere the signs. Y'all stick around, just getting started on Wednesday. Stick around.
It's 2020.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with auto pay and paperless billing. Even without auto pay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams summertime in Mississippi? Country Pleasing Sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan. Put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasing Sausage, countrypleasing.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from them. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence, or order it online, or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make this.
Check it out online now at thezone1059.com.
All right, something has popped up here, y'all. Something has popped up. And we're going to weigh in on this. I am just now aware of it, okay? This to you may not be brand new, the concept that we're about to discuss, that the policy, this new SEC policy is based around. I missed it a couple of weeks ago when Ole Miss played Alabama. Here's what I'm talking about. Pete Thamel, who's he with now? Yahoo? Y'all know the name anyway. Yeah, big time, college football reporter. Anyway, Pete Thamel says the SEC, this is today now, okay, November 4th. The SEC has officially passed a new regulation that all warm-up activities, both pregame and after suspension of play, has to be either in the locker room or on the field. They cannot warm up in an adjacent facility, which Ole Miss did earlier this year. Do y'all get this? You get what this is and what this is about? If you go and you look at Pete Thamel's tweet where he's saying this, he's reporting this, that his sources are telling him they're not only discussing it, which he told you that a week ago, they've passed it. The SEC is passing this regulation for football. All warm-up activities, pregame, it says after suspension of play, you either have to do it in the locker room or on the field. You can't go to your indoor practice facility. You can't go to the gym indoors. He's saying they've put that in. It's a new regulation. They can't do what Ole Miss did. Well, do you realize Ole Miss did this before the Alabama game? They went into the IPF, the indoor practice facility there. What do they call it? The Manning Center? Is that it, or is that something else? Homecoming Queen has joined us in the Farm Bureau studio. Hello, Homecoming Queen.
Hi.
Do you get what I'm saying here on this news? All right, here's the situation. Ole Miss played Alabama earlier this year, right? Gave them fits. Well, apparently before the game, because it was raining, Lane Kiffin takes his football team. They're at home. They went through pregame warm-ups inside the indoor practice facility. They didn't go out on the field and do it.
Well, it was raining.
Well, right, but that's his reasoning. But here's the thing. So let's say you're media, you're anybody, you're a fan, you're out here, watching pregame warm-ups. Ole Miss never comes out on the field. It's just Alabama. Where's Ole Miss? Well, they're just doing all their warm-ups inside. Who would have
right by their lockers, by the way?
Who would have a problem with this? Who would have a problem with Ole Miss doing that? I'll tell you who. You ready?
Yeah, I want to know.
Nick Saban and the Alabama coaching staff had a problem with it being allowable for their team, the visiting team. We had to go warm up in the rain. And if we have a player who's injured and not going to play today, we maybe have kept that a secret. Well, anybody can now see he's not warming up for us. So they can actually have coaches, somebody watch us warm up. We can't watch them. It's an unfair advantage.
This all happened because Alabama complained?
That's my theory. Because Ole Miss did it against Alabama. Right after that, It was reported, I've gone back and looked, it was reported the SEC is considering passing a, regulation here today. A few minutes ago, Pete Themmel. Sources, the SEC has officially passed a new regulation that all warm-up activities, both pregame and after the suspension of play, has to be either in the locker room or on the field. And then he actually specified, he said they cannot warm up in adjacent facilities, which Ole Miss did earlier this year.
Well, then he gives away why they decided it.
Yeah. He just basically said why. And it's Ole Miss.
Let me ask you a question.
All right, hit me.
If you think that the tide was turned, pun intended, and that they were playing that game in Alabama and Saban had the chance to do the same, do you not think he would have done the same thing?
I was thinking the exact same thing.
That's scary for you, my friend.
I mean, give me a break.
Right.
Give me a break. I'm
Wah,
gonna cry,
wah, crybaby Saban.
But there's so much in this. Okay, we have this storyline is legit.
It's legit.
That if it's one thing if I complain, literally zero people care.
Zero.
It's another thing if, let's say, a coach at Ole Miss or a coach at State complains or has a problem with it. There might be a few people listen.
But if Nick Saban complains.
But if Saban complains, the conference office says, keep your lunch open tomorrow, Nick. We'll be there. I'll see you tomorrow. What do you want to eat? And we go over the issues we have. And we put in regulations to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Maybe he's still just a little bit mad that Ole Miss played so well against him.
Hey, that was a great question, too, that popped up just before the show. I saw this on Twitter. Some guys that I've gotten to know via YouTube. They're YouTubers also. They're over in Birmingham called College Football Nerds.
Yeah.
And he posted a question that just said, who is the best bad team in college football? Who's the best bad team? I thought, what an interesting question. And several of the responses had Ole Miss in there. Because you think about it, everybody's like, nobody takes them that seriously this year. Like they didn't beat Alabama. They may lose to LSU. They lost to Arkansas. But every time they step on the field because of their offense, they just might beat you.
And they look pretty good, know?
And they're fun to watch because they score. My theory is if you're bad, at least just be bad on defense. Just score. If you're a bad team overall, just still figure out how to score a lot of points because then it's fun to watch.
You're not really bad unless you're in the bottom 25, right? Like yesterday.
Yeah, somebody did bring that up.
Bottom 25.
Well, what I started the show today, Annie, by saying that sports polls are better than political polls.
I agree.
And then somebody said, no, fishing polls are better than sports polls.
But I will have to say, you always talk about all these preseason polls, and you say, I
don't agree with them.
No. So maybe they're just as bad as these political polls.
I don't know that any of them have ever been as off as these political polls were.
Well, yeah, that's probably a given.
I'm just saying, if Saban doesn't like it,
then it doesn't happen. That's unbelievable.
And JB brings up a great question. If he could have done it first, would he have done it? Here's the other angle on this if you're an Ole Miss fan. Nick Saban is notorious for finding loopholes in all kinds of stuff during his time as a coach at Alabama that were so smart and exploitable that they would close these loopholes just because of him. And they'd start calling stuff, well, that's a Saban rule. That's a Saban rule. Recruiting this dead period, that's a Saban rule. Well, now you have a coach that is finding loopholes benefiting his team, and they're having to close these loopholes. The warm-up thing must be on the field. That's the Kiffin rule.
Jeez Louise.
That's what it is.
And there's nobody else in college football that carries that kind of weight, does he? Seriously.
Well, like Saban does.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I mean, there's just not.
If you're an Ole Miss fan, you aren't you kind of like, okay, our coach is thinking, they do this to Saban all the time. He finds these loopholes, and they have to shut them on him, or else he'll get in there and exploit it and give his team an advantage. But still,
isn't it his fault that Ole Miss went under all that investigation anyway?
Yeah.
He just doesn't like Ole Miss, does he? He just doesn't like Ole Miss.
Sven, who's watching the live stream over in Germany, he agrees with Saban.
Oh, he does.
He says Saban is right. They should have to warm up on the field. And I can understand that if one team has to warm up in the rain.
Did you ever warm up anywhere else beside the field?
No.
Have you ever seen another team warm up anywhere else beside the field?
I've never seen or heard of it.
We did in high school.
High school might be a little different. You just stay in if it's a monsoon.
Was it raining really badly that day? I don't remember this.
It must have been.
I mean.
See, and we weren't there.
No.
But it must have been raining for them to just say, we're not even going out there for warm-ups. It might have just been pouring down. I've been there now. I've been in games where it's just monsoon during warm-ups. I mentioned we warmed up in the snow one year at Kentucky, and you would love to have been able to warm up inside because then, you warm up in the snow.
Yeah.
You come back in after warm-ups before you go out for kickoff, and you sit there in the locker room, and your feet are soaking wet with melted snow, and they're freezing cold,
Where? Okay, is there an option that Saban could have gone inside anywhere at Ole Miss?
No. See, that's the thing about it. There's never going to be that. I say there's never. I guess some places, maybe the basketball arena, for instance, would be close enough to the field, but then they couldn't wear cleats.
Right.
No.
You'd have to have everybody wearing, tennis shoes, sneakers.
So this just came out today?
Yes.
And that game was how many weeks ago?
Well, I mean, it's at least...
so this has been bothering him for this long, and he had to bring it up? Who cares? He won.
3 weeks ago or whatever it was.
He won. Who cares? Move on.
He was mad about it then and brought it up then.
Whatever.
And apparently it has taken this long for them to pass it.
Whatever.
I have to pass along this. Bama in Madison just texted the show on the Country Pleasing Sausage text line and said, jealousy noted.
Jealousy noted.
And apparently it was the weekend the hurricane was whipping up through
so
there.
it was raining.
Yeah.
Look, like I tell Mary Liddy, the elephants beat everybody. They always do. And I've got tons of really sweet Alabama fans who are friends, but they beat everybody.
Yeah, they don't know what life is really like.
Who cares where Ole Miss warmed up? They weren't going to win.
Them Bama Elephants didn't beat Matt Wyatt.
Oh, well, back in the day.
We won during the years I was in college.
Pre-Saban.
We beat Alabama. It was pre-Saban.
You wouldn't have beat Alabama if Saban was the coach.
We beat Alabama 3 out of 4 years. We beat Gene Stallings in his last year and then beat Mike DeBose in his first 2 years. So we kind of caught him at the...
You caught him at a good time.
We caught him at the right time. All right, we'll come to the phone line next and more of your text. Stick around.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with auto pay and paperless billing. Even without auto pay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams summertime in Mississippi? country pleasing sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan, put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasing Sausage, countrypleasing.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from them. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence, or order it online, or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much, and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Hey, are you buying land or selling it? You need to let Matt Anderson with National Land Realty help you out.
Online at thezone1059.com and keep your radio turned on to ESPN 105.9, The Zone.
All right, here we go. Back with y'all. Rolling along here in hour number one, getting ready to wrap up the first hour with you on this hump day, Wednesday, in the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance across the state of Mississippi.
Your home team banner is crooked back there.
It came loose.
Well, we got to get that
it's one of these pop-up banners. I have two of them, and it pops up. It pulls up and then latches on the thing. Well, it
still looks really good, but it's crooked.
Well, I pulled it completely out of the base, though. That's the thing. So I figure I can take it back to the company that made it, and they can fix it.
They'll fix it.
Roll it back up for me. Glue it in there. Yeah, there it is. The Farm Bureau logo. Farm Bureau Insurance.
Looks good.
Go with the home team. How about that logo? The red hog. Same one on my hat. Country Pleasing Sausage.
I noticed you're wearing red and green today because yesterday it was red, white, and blue for Election Day, and now you're just like, let's get to Christmas.
That's it.
Red and green. Matt listens to Christmas music every morning.
What is wrong with that?
I love it. You're married to the right person. I love Christmas music. I would listen to it every day of the year.
How early is too early in the year to listen to?
There's no such thing.
No such thing?
No, I'd have to side with the HQ there, because I mean, if you're like what we claim we are, then it's really Christmas every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Of course, and when you're big fans of the Hallmark Channel, it's Christmas in July.
Hey, it's Christmas every day. Look, when we do trips, when we're on family trips, if we're going to be in the car for a long time, one of the only agreements we can come to on music is, okay, let's just listen to Christmas music. And we'll listen to Christmas music for a couple of hours in the car. And it could be July, and we're fine with it.
This show is crazy. So you're here in the studio with me. In the chair behind you is Champ, the not-so-miniature schnauzer. Yeah. Lady, the miniature schnauzer, is walking around my feet. She just now walks over to investigate the cat who took his foot and pushed the door open. Animals everywhere.
It's a good day in your studio.
There's a lot going on.
You said you were going to the phone line before we left.
Yeah, thank you. Back on track here on the Davini Equipment phone line, Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson. Your Kubota dealer. Joey on the line. What's up, Joey?
Hey, Matt. Look, this is just absolute belly aching. I agree with the homecoming queen. I mean, that's just really.
Give me a break, right? Give me a break.
Nick Saban complaining about an unfair advantage, it'd be like Bill Gates complaining about getting in late on an investment opportunity. I mean, really,
That's great.
It's absolutely ridiculous. If he needs a leader in his life that would say, you know what, Nick, why don't you let that go?
Let it go.
And here's my bigger problem with it. I understand. I'm not a goofball. I'm able to think logically. In fact, that's probably my strong suit in the brain, is being analytical. And I understand the logistics of it, that it might be an unfair advantage if you're not Alabama. There's no such thing. But even if it were with equal teams, I could see where it could be an issue. So let's just add a little space for the other team in the event of inclement weather. No big deal there. You could fix that. But my problem is this middle of the night rule being made, Matt.
In the middle of the season.
Why doesn't everybody get in on this? Why isn't there a meeting? How are we trusting this office where if you light the grill in Alabama, they smell it over there, to make decisions for the other 13-member teams without consulting?
Great point.
Yeah. Joey, here's what I would say.
That is simply illogical.
Okay,
and
here's what I would say about that. Is the SEC office... Hold on, Joey. What I would say is I have confidence in the people, the individuals in the SEC office. Like, Greg Sankey, his staff, and I know them. I know those guys. Okay, so like individually, I have confidence in them. But at the same time, I do agree with you that it's almost, for me, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even know you could pass regulations and stuff in the middle of a season, So I kind of agree with you. It's like I can't quite figure that out.
And what is Nick Saban's bitterness with Ole Miss?
They've beaten him.
He just doesn't like that he's gotten beaten.
Well, that's obvious to me.
Think.
Yeah, it was I think it goes back to the recruiting thing.
You
which,
know what
and then they beat him twice.
Look good on?
What's that?
Nothing. They don't. You can't even make a good dessert with sour grapes.
But here's the thing about that, though: as many times as Alabama's beaten Ole Miss a lot more. They clipped him twice on the field. It's not. I mean, does it even classify as sour grapes if you have the big advantage in the quote unquote rivalry or the series or whatever?
Yeah, it does, because you're complaining about something so minuscule,
insignificant,
that it really looks foolish. And but at the end of the day, on an equal playing field, let's take Alabama out of it. Let's take Ole Miss out of it. Like, the most equal rivalry in recent years has been State and Kentucky. I mean, isn't that thing in the last 15 years the closest to 50-50? So, in probably wins and losses, there's a lot of similarities. Take two teams that are really equal and say it happens between them. But I think the bigger thing is, with all the money, I mean, can't we just put a second floor on a lot of these buildings in some places and say, okay, if it's terrible weather, the other team gets to go up there with Nick complain about having to use an elevator?
I'm sure that Nick Saban could just pay for that to be done at all the other SEC
he could afford
schools.
it. Hey, Joey,
as the homecoming queen said, Crybaby would probably complain about having to use an elevator. Okay.
Joey, thanks for the call, man. Good stuff. Great. That line he had there he said, Nick Saban complaining about an unfair advantage. Like Bill Gates complaining about getting in late on an investment opportunity.
That's your quote of the day today.
Once he said that, I started typing it up to tweet it. I didn't hear much else what he said.
Yeah, it was good. That was really good.
Joey, appreciate the call. Thank you. Sven on the live stream says in 4 weeks it's eggnog time.
Eggnog, yeah.
What
I
is
thought
eggnog?
He was going to say egg bowl, actually.
Yeah, egg bowl. Hey, look, we get the election over with.
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to have a full...
We may still be in the election during the Egg Bowl, actually.
But let's say we're not. Let's say we get it over with. then the pandemic goes away, right? That's
You
the theory.
think?
I keep hearing that theory.
Yeah, you keep hearing
Once the election's over, the pandemic will
you're
go
saying
away.
so that the Egg Bowl will be a full stadium.
It'll be normal again. We'll have 60,000 people at the Egg Bowl the end of this month.
Life will
nobody wearing masks.
Yeah,
just
life will
everybody
be
having a good time.
back to normal, right?
That's right. Okay, I have to skip ahead on the Country Please and text line. Answer this question. Unnamed texter says, Matt, why don't you ever put the homecoming queen on the video with you? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. One is we only have one camera, and it is stationary. She's not here.
I can't fit over there and get in unless
There's
we're
not enough room over
arm
here.
in arm.
And I mean, I could turn it around, but like today, she just kind of popped in unannounced. And there have been
Well,
other
I tell
times
you
where
what,
I
if y'all
have
get
offered
arm
to
in
put in
arm.
another camera, and the thing is, she will say, "No, I don't really want to be on camera."
Well, let's
And
be honest.
with
The
a woman-
back side of your studio really doesn't look as good as the front side.
It doesn't
it's
look
ugly.
good back there. It's just a wall, you know.
Not very.
It's kind of
pretty.
like a guy's room, sort of. It's not meant to be pretty. That's not the point.
Studio.
They want to see you. The thing
I'll
is,
hop on there one day.
okay, is that a promise?
Sure.
Well, looky there.
Well, y'all can't be arm in arm because if you do, Matt will not be able to pay attention.
I love JB.
Yeah, I'll be a little
I love
distracted.
JB.
Be just a little distracted.
How come you haven't talked about Tuberville? Have you talked about him
I
yet?
have not brought that up, but you and I had that discussion. So that for those that don't know, Tommy Tuberville, former coach, elected
to the Senate.
The U.S. Senate,
was
representing
a big
Alabama.
win for that's
He
right.
unseated Doug Jones, who was the senator over there.
The best part of the night was what? When we were watching one of the networks and they called him Tommy Tuberville.
The woman goes, Tommy Tuberville in Alabama. We're like, yes, Tuberville. Look, here's my take
Way to
on
go,
it.
Tuberville.
Okay, here's my take on it.
Yeah.
The guy has pretty much just openly said, I don't really know anything about politics. I don't know anything. All I do is just team up with Trump. That'll get me elected. Okay, and it did. All right.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. I'm not making a judgment what he's going to do.
We're not analyzing
Here's what
politics
I
on
am.
here.
No, but here's what I'm analyzing.
I know. I already know.
It is just the second piece of proof of what everybody's strategy probably should be and is probably going to be going forward. A lot of them. The first example was Donald Trump. Never been a politician, doesn't know a thing about it, but is famous and will get on television and mix it up. Tommy Tuberville, somebody described him today as has never had a single solitary independent political thought.
I saw that.
But is famous with a name and coach some football. And if you're willing to go do it, you can get yourself elected. Pile up on the celebrities.
There you go.
And pile up on the votes.
Well, I'm just glad he ran in Alabama because he wouldn't have won in Mississippi.
No way if he ran here, there's no way he wins.
No.
If he ran here, can you imagine all the Pine Box stuff? Commercials, Pine Box.
My dad calls him Tubalize.
Tubalize.
Tommy Tubalize.
Tommy Tubalize. He's just saying
He might fit in politics. There you go.
He may do very well.
Maybe right
Winner,
up his
winner,
alley.
chicken dinner. The
There you go,
homecoming queen.
Tuberville.
Spoken again.
Somebody typed it up here on the text line and spelled it Tooberville.
That's what I'm going to start calling him.
Tuberville.
Senator Tuberville from Alabama.
Y'all stick around.
Franco Transmission in Flowood reminds listeners.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with auto pay and paperless billing. Even without auto pay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams summertime in Mississippi? Country Pleasin' sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan. Put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasin' sausage, countrypleasin.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from it. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence, or order it online, or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasin', please.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wyatt stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Hey, are you buying land or selling it? You need to let Matt Anderson with National Land Realty help you out. Matt Anderson Properties. Here's what Matt can do. If you're buying land, you can view the property without ever setting foot on it. They've got the 360-degree interactive drone touring. It's really cool. You got to check it out. And if you're selling property, Matt's going to get you consistent reports, comprehensive reports of who's looking, how many people looked at your listing. You need to let him help you. Matt Anderson Properties with National Land Realty. Call him, 601-408-5155. Hey, if you listen to the show, you know that the new third hour of the Matt Wyatt Show is brought to you by Overstreet Properties in Starkville. Here's what you need to know. If you're looking for a weekend home or condo, full-time residence, investment property, maybe just an apartment to lease, you got a student going to school at State, call Kane Overstreet at Overstreet Properties. In Starkville, it's 323-8618, or look them up online, overstreetproperties.com.
And 105.9 The Zone.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the show, off and running with you on this Wednesday, better known as Hump Day around here. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Yeah! You made it to the halfway point of the week, which means it's sort of time to turn that page and forget about last weekend and preview next weekend.
Yeah.
Are you doing the Humpty Hump, Ann?
No.
This was popular in about 1990.
Yeah. I remember this song.
Might have been like 88, 89.
1989, do you think?
I'm going to look it up. I usually have a pretty good gauge of those time frames. I think about my junior high years when those things were popular.
You were really cool back then, weren't you?
No. Very awkward, tall, gangly, acne.
Your favorite outfit was just a white T-shirt and blue jeans. That's what you've told me. You just wanted to always wear a white T-shirt
I had
and
a drawer
blue jeans.
full of white T-shirts, V-neck T-shirts.
And just jeans.
A drawer full of blue jeans and a jacket for the wintertime. That was it.
I
You
love
look
it.
just like Opie.
Yeah. I did. 1990.
So I have to.
This came out in 1990, by the way. All
That's
right, go
pretty
ahead.
good.
Well, I just HQ.
Hey.
I gotta tell you,
JB.
men don't wear outfits.
Yeah, it's not an outfit. It just throw some
But I know where
clothes
you're
on.
coming
I know.
Now Brooks may wear an outfit from time to time.
You know, the thing about Brooks.
I do say outfit a lot.
The thing about Brooks is he's an Ole Miss guy, and he's one of the best Ole Miss guys I've met.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
I will say this, and maybe I'm biased, but in terms for me, outside looking in at Ole Miss, I'm the state guy. Didn't grow up in the state hating, the rival like a lot of people did. I come at it from a different angle, but I classify it this way. I don't know that I've ever met any Ole Miss women, girls, who were just horrible people.
That's nice.
That I didn't really like,
That's
that weren't
nice.
likable. And I think that's why there are so many married couples where an Ole Miss girl married a state guy.
Well, it happened 3 times in my
In your
immediate family.
As far as Ole Miss men, you can very easily divide them. It is a very clear dividing line.
You mean
And-
divide them between the Mississippi State men?
No. I'm saying,
What are you saying?
Ole Miss men.
Yeah.
Ole Miss men.
Yes.
It is a very clear dividing line for them. You put half the Ole Miss men on one side, half on the other. Half of them are the Chris Brookses.
Yeah.
Down to earth, great people. Love their team, all that kind of stuff. They're just great folks. And the other ones are horrible people.
Matt.
The people on the other side of that line,
Matt.
they got some of the worst you can ever run into.
Really, Matt? Really? It's not nice.
And I mean, I'm telling you, I've experienced a little bit of all of that.
Yeah, okay.
No, okay. Anyway.
Not nice.
They're not. I agree.
No,
they are not.
No, that's not nice.
Is that what you were saying?
No,
okay.
that's not
You
nice.
sound like my wife. That's not nice, John. Don't say that. You
Yeah,
stupid.
it really is true that if you can't say anything nice at all, you should just tell the truth. All right. Hour 2 of the show. Y'all text me on the Country Please and text line. I do, before we get to the text, there's a bunch of them here, and I want to get us some really good stuff in here from Josh and Anthony and Jonathan and Bama and Rep Dog and Wolf and Rex and Troll Tide, Denzel, Jason, everybody. And people on the live stream, RLD, your mom.
Oh, good.
Hey, Debbie. She's watching on the live stream. Anyway, there's a lot to get to. But before we do that, we did, as a family, go and vote yesterday afternoon.
We did. We waited because our daughter really wanted to go with us because she's, heard about the election and she wanted to go. So that was fun to take her with us.
It really was fun. And it's interesting to me, too, that she was so genuinely interested in it.
Right.
JB and I mentioned this yesterday. As a 9-year-old, for me, not only was I not I'm interested in like politics or voting, I'm not even sure I was really that aware of it at 9 years old. So I wonder if the environment, like Mary Liddy's growing up in now, is is maybe a little more politically charged. Well, it is, but I wonder if the kids are more aware of that stuff than we used to be.
Are you being serious? You know why she's more aware of it?
Because of you.
Because I'm her mother.
Yeah.
And I'm just...
She may grow up to be president.
She might.
She might do it.
She might.
She really wanted to see it.
I'd vote for her. I'd have voted for her yesterday.
Me too, JB. Well, I thought the neatest part of the day was, she went up to the little polling area with us, and she stood there with me as I was reading through it, and so she looked at it, and I felt like the neatest part of the day was filling in that circle for the state flag to be changed.
Because it had the picture of it on there.
Yeah, and she recognized it. She goes, "There's that flag with the magnolia and says, 'In God We Trust.'" And I thought, this is historic for her to be here with me and with us and have that done. I'm really proud of Mississippi for doing that.
And I didn't think about that, but you're exactly right. She will always remember that.
She will always remember it. She'll see that flag the rest of her life, and she'll remember that.
Yeah, that she, when you voted for it, she stood there with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really neat.
I thought that was a big moment.
I had a friend, Caleb, text me this morning and said he was curious if because the old flag is out, the new one is in, if at the sporting events, and I think he was referencing Mississippi State, if now they will start walking the flags back out to midfield with the color guard.
Wow, yeah.
For the national anthem and stuff like they used to.
Right.
And I bet they will now.
I bet they will.
Yeah. So
that's a good question.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay, let me jump in here. And HQ and I are going to take a look at some of your texts on the Country Pleasing text line 885-ESPN, 885-ESPN, or 885-3776. Josh said, so coaches were out scouting Auburn warm-ups, but Auburn couldn't scout the Ole Miss warm-ups. And so light bulb went off, and I thought, well, maybe that's it too. Maybe it wasn't just that Alabama game. Sounds like it was maybe the Auburn game, which was at Ole Miss also.
Wait, so Ole Miss warmed up
twice inside while the other team had to go out on the field.
The lane train just warms up where it wants to warm up.
And it is so...
Well, that was also during a hurricane as well.
So Auburn and Alabama came to town, and it was both hurricane season.
And rain came through there, wet field. So
sure wasn't Miami.
It is so like it fits my impression of Lane Kiffin perfectly. That he would look at us and just go,
"Okay,
let's just go inside and warm up."
Yeah.
I don't want to stand outside and get wet.
I'm just going to take this mask off and pay $25,000. What was that?
Yeah. Anybody got any pennies? Yeah. Where are the pennies? And it took him 3 tweets to figure out how many pennies are 25,000.
Well, SEC needs to refund him some money because they fined Mullen the same thing for doing what he did. He just retweeted something.
So Miss Lisa, voice teacher, she commented on the live stream. Dan Mullen got a $25,000 fine for basically kicking off a little brouhaha fight between his team and Missouri.
Okay.
He got a reprimand and a $25,000 fine. Well, it's the same thing that Lane Kiffin got fined for a retweet.
He
clicked something and got... So...
I think I finally figured out the difference.
Lisa said on the comments on the live stream... We love Lisa. She goes... I think the words that she used were, so Lane Kiffin gets the same fine as Dan Mullen. He did a retweet, and Dan Mullen incited a brawl.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I think the difference, and Matt, you pointed it out, but now I finally have an answer to your question.
What's that?
The difference between the two was that Lane didn't get reprimanded.
He didn't get a reprimand.
No, but Mullen did.
But when it came out, I kept saying, hold on now. What is a reprimand? What is that?
Okay, so did Kiffin get in trouble not only for the retweet about the bad call and a mask? Didn't he get in trouble for not wearing a mask?
Yeah, I think they might have been one that got fined.
Hasn't he been fined twice now?
Maybe
this season?
So. Yeah, but he doesn't get fined personally.
Right,
for the mask thing. That was a fine of the schools. Like I think Tennessee got fined, and maybe A&M got fined also.
Okay. I find it all ridiculous.
The good folks in UMAA picked up that tab.
That's right.
It's all ridiculous.
And then they have some fund that all that goes into when those fines come in.
A Corona fine?
I don't know what it is, to be honest with you.
Nick Saban fund.
There you go.
Yeah, sure. the Bill Gates Investment Opportunity Fund, according to Joey.
Yeah.
Jonathan on the Country Pleasing text says, Matt, we played Jackson State a few years ago, and their team was not seen until they came out 2 minutes before kick. The Sonic Boom has been playing for a solid hour at that point. I'm pretty sure they just didn't warm up. Just here to collect a check. Well, you know what, Jonathan? I remember that. We're talking about 2009, I believe, when they played at State. I was there, and sitting in the press box, they positioned the Jackson State band in the southwest corner of the stands, right under the press box. Kind of.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
And even sitting behind them. Listen, their instruments were facing out away from me.
You were so excited, weren't you?
It's one of the best experiences I've ever had at a college game, was even sitting behind the Sonic Boom. Even with their horns and instruments facing outward, they still were the loudest thing I have ever heard.
And good.
From a marching band.
So good.
The volume level of the Sonic Boom it's like
here we go.
Twice as loud as other bands.
They're just good.
They are just great.
Well, is there a rule that you have to warm up?
No, you don't have to warm up. But see, that's the key. The regulation here that they put in this SEC thing today is that teams have to warm up either in the locker room or on the field.
Okay.
And you go, okay, what do you mean the locker room? Well, that would cover it if a team just didn't want to come out.
Okay. They just can't go to their practice facility.
They can't go sneaking inside the IPF, and we'll stay dry. And if we got injured players that are not on our roster today, you won't know until we come running out there later for kickoff. Whereas we're going to have our guys in the booth watching you warm up in the rain. And if your right tackle's limping around, we'll know that. See.
So you think this was Alabama and Auburn?
I think it was.
The two schools that Matt says, and Matt has a good point, it run the conference.
I'm telling you.
It was a group effort.
Lane Kiffin could not have picked two worse teams to do it against if he wanted to keep doing it.
It's a collective effort.
This ought to be the new regulation. Let me amend the new SEC regulation. Y'all hear me? If you want to get away with something, do it against somebody other than Alabama and Auburn. There's your amendment to the rule. Because if you tick those two off, you are toast. I love it. It just fits the narrative, and I don't even know that it's really that true, honestly. But it
works,
like,
though.
I mean,
I believe it, Matt.
Here's what I believe. I believe there are good people in the SEC office who, no, they don't have some sort of favoritism towards Alabama and Auburn, but they are aware of the helicopter theories flying around out there.
Absolutely.
And every time this pops up, they do this right here. They go, Dad, gummit. Not again. I'm going to hear about this for a solid year. Alabama, Auburn. We do everything for Alabama and Auburn. Here it is. I mean, I've said it before. If you want to stop, there are some things like that. These theories get taken and run with. And if I want to stop it, frankly, I'm just going to have to go overboard to not give people reasons to run with it.
There you go.
And there's another reason to run with it. Wow. Bama in Madison.
Oh, yeah.
Country Pleasing text says, both teams have to have an opportunity to do it. If one team's headset stops working, then the other side has to take their headsets off. He has a good point.
Yeah.
We're all about a level playing field. And
but is it ever really a level playing field when you're playing Alabama?
Well, here's what I would like to say.
No.
We are all about a level playing field in everything. Headsets, warm-ups, roster size, rules, except for recruiting.
They got more money.
That's the only thing that nobody is for a level playing field.
Yeah.
Not the NCAA, not the schools, the coaches, the boosters, and nobody is interested in a level playing field there.
Well, point made.
Rep Dog says somehow the SEC office can't get around to preventing Alabama alumni from officiating Saban's games, but they fast-tracked this rule. Well, In their defense, the stat that I tweeted out yesterday, I mentioned to y'all how the new SEC statistics came out.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw that. Do stats bore you?
Well, no. I know that you love numbers.
Stats are like a bikini.
I know. How many times have I heard this joke?
They'll show you a lot, but not everything.
So that stats can't be a one piece then, right?
No.
He's got a million statistics in his brain. It's
penalties
scary.
This year, penalties in the SEC. Everybody's playing each other. Vanderbilt, the least penalized team. Now, they've only played 4 games, but in terms of average per game, they average fewer penalty yards per game than anybody else. Vanderbilt, fewest. The least amount of penalties. You know who has been penalized the most?
Well, don't you think they average the least amount because they make the least amount
of yards?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, no, because penalties are a little different.
Okay.
But it was a good point. The most penalized teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, 63 penalty yards a game. Georgia, 61 a game. And Alabama, 54 penalty yards a game.
Really?
State and Ole Miss are right in the middle of the pack. The 3 most penalized teams this year are Alabama, Georgia, A&M. It blows out of the water any theory that we've had coming into this year that officials are favoring Alabama. According to the actual calls in a game. No, they're not.
So they're in the top 3.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
What about the no calls?
Yeah. Now, that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Holding! I do know now.
Tighten up.
Now this is an actual stat. Here's one for you that just happened to come my way on Saturday night during the ball game. Not that it had any input, any factor on the outcome. 7 minutes into Saturday night's game, Alabama got called for a penalty. Mm-hmm. That meant Alabama had gone 67 minutes of football against Mississippi State without a penalty. Because last year in Starkville, they were called for 0 penalties in that blowout win against State in Starkville.
0?
And no penalties last year in 60 minutes. And so you add 7 minutes this year, it'll be 67 minutes without a penalty. Some of the State people reminded me of that. I thought that was funny. They were keeping track.
It's pretty good.
Wolf Fang on the Country Pleasing text line says, didn't Saban cry that Ole Miss must have stolen his signals when the Rebs beat Alabama? #Whiner. No, that came out after this year, after Ole Miss played them close, and it was really a comment taken out of context. Saban didn't actually say they stole our signals. Now, a former player said it's like they had our signals, but I don't think he actually said that. All right, Rebel Rex says, Matt, if Will Rogers is the future going forward, maybe Leach should go to Brandon High and maybe get a guy that already has chemistry with Will. Just a thought. Are you talking about a receiver or somebody like that, Rex? If you are, I would not be all that aware. Troll.
The only one I'm aware of is Mingo. They played together at Brandon for 2 years.
Right.
Before Mingo went to Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's it. He's been at Ole Miss for a while now. Troll Tide on the Country Pleasing text line. Will they carry Tuberville into the Senate chamber in that pine box?
That's great.
I mean, I swear. If you run against him, how do you not just light him up on the whole pine box thing? I'm sure the audio's out there.
That made my whole election day.
Yeah.
Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville.
White Denzel says, not only did Tuberville win Bama, he won Tuscaloosa County, which is a big shocker. Yeah, because they beat the snot out of Alabama, 6 years in a row? Back in the day when he went to Auburn?
I just don't keep up with him.
Jason in Flagstaff says, at the moment you said when this Humpty Hump song was popular, he said, I became grateful for growing up in the sticks with 3 channels of classic rock, country radio, and playing outside. He must not be a fan of the Humpty song, Humpty Dance. And then Rich from Moorville says, our 8-year-old wanted to go with me to vote, but it just didn't work out yesterday. I've taken her before to vote. Well, that's good. We had no line to wait in.
Yeah, there had been a ton of people there. We just hit them at a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Late afternoon.
I saw pictures of people
waiting.
Yeah.
Particularly
like in the Jackson and Madison area.
You know, Mom, my 93-year-old grandmother waited over an hour in Houston, Mississippi.
Good grief.
Yeah.
All right, Paul Mooney.
Paul's
in Madison. JB, Paul Mooney, offensive lineman at State. We were roommates. Paul is 6'8", and right now he's a good three bills and change. Okay, and that's
a large man.
Listen, he's a giant. Okay.
Well, for you to say that, because you're a large man.
But JB,
he's a giant.
But JB, his heart is the biggest part of him. I love him.
He's just a great person. He really is. He's a big old teddy bear. All right, so he posts his picture. Somebody else had taken the picture, and he got a hold of it.
What is it?
He put it on Facebook. It was of a voting line outside of his precinct where the cars are lined up down the road as far as you can see on this side, and on the other side, it's people standing in line for as far as you can see, okay?
Okay.
It's this line of people in the picture. And his caption was, check out the tall dude in the middle. And when you look at the picture, halfway down, about a quarter of a mile up there, there's this guy.
Who is it, Paul?
That is twice the size of every other person in the line. He's stuck out like a sore thumb. It's all these normal people. And then you keep looking, whoa! There is Goliath. He's just standing head and shoulders above everybody. He's the size of two people standing there, and everybody else is just.
He wanted that vote to count.
It was great, and I was like, I'm proud of him for standing there. And so I started to comment and say, "Man, you stuck out like a sore thumb," but I didn't want to make him feel bad about it.
So just say it on the radio.
Yeah.
Just tell him he stuck out.
He didn't listen.
Just how big a boy are you?
He's a big old boy.
Now. Paul is something
I'm not
else.
sure you would have stood in line to vote. I know how you are.
I don't think I could have.
You would have lost all attention span to do it.
I don't think I could have done it.
I'm with you, Matt White.
I'd have started sniffling and told him I had cocoa. I need to get it over with. All right. Thanks, homecoming queen. Good to see you.
It's been real. Thanks, y'all.
It's been real. Y'all stick around.
It's been a few months since you hired
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with auto pay and paperless billing. Even without auto pay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams summertime in Mississippi? Country Pleasin' sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan. Put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasin' sausage, countrypleasin.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from it. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence, or order it online, or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, "Country pleasing, please."
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Hey, are you buying land or selling it? You need to let Matt Anderson with National Land Realty help you out. Matt Anderson Properties.
ESPN
Here's what Matt.
1059, The Zone.
Are you ready? Brace yourself.
Now back to the Matt Wyatt Show.
Lots of lamenting happening on the live stream from my friends who are Alabama fans, just because I even brought up the name Mike Dubose. I was just giving the history of the coaches. Somebody asked about it there.
I thought it was going to be about Tuberville.
Tuberville? Well, we had that too on here. See, the Chewmeister said 6 times in a row, yes, I don't miss those days. And then said we had such a bad coaching back then. And he says Mike Dubose was a joke. Mike B then responded and said Mike Dubose was a heartache for us Bama fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's things are a lot different and a lot better since about 07, right? Am I right, y'all? It's 07, 08. How about this, JB? Keith commented on the live stream, and he said, I don't know about Ole Miss or Alabama, but State doesn't wear numbers and names in warm-ups. Besides the popular players, I wouldn't know how you could tell who was who with no numbers and helmets on. Well, Keith, that's right. They used to do that, and it started with Dan Mullen. I don't remember if they just continued it both years of Moorhead or not. They're not doing it this year, and neither is Mullen at Florida, and here's why. This was from back in September. The NCAA made a rule change. Florida coach Dan Mullen says it's basically his namesake rule, even though he thinks it's ridiculous. Here's what it said. Under Mullen, Gators players have not worn their jersey numbers during pregame on-field warm-ups. A new NCAA rule says players must wear their jersey number while out on the field inside of 90 minutes before kickoff of the game. Mullen said this, quote, the Dan Mullen rule. I think that is horrendously ridiculous. He says, that's my rant on it. Horrendously ridiculous. He says, I'll abide by the Dan Mullen rule. We'll put some numbers somewhere. There's no question that part of doing that is this whole competitive advantage thing of we're on the field, we're going through warm-ups, but if I don't have a player in there, we're going to make it harder on the other guys to figure that out if he's out, because Mullen's one of those guys who wouldn't talk about injuries anyway, right? So it's interesting you bring that up, Keith. That's been changed for everybody. Dan Mullen takes the credit. Imagine that. Calls it the Dan Mullen rule. Maybe it is. Maybe it is the Dan Mullen rule. All right, y'all call me on the Davini phone, 995-1059, 601-995-1059. Or text the show, 885-ESPN. Real quick, Rex was saying, about a player at Brandon. He texts me and says that what he's talking about is a kid at Brandon named Caleb Anderson. 6'4", 195 pounds. Says he's at Brandon. He could be a possession type of receiver. So, yeah, appreciate that. And then he also says, got your peanut butter pie all situated. Be dropping it off around noon next Tuesday. Make sure you share it with the homecoming queen and be easy on your critiques. Mrs. Rebelheart. You know what? Thank you so much for that. If I can get down there next week, I will make sure to put my hands on it and enjoy it. Really do appreciate that. No question. Jason in Flagstaff texted. He said, what happens to Dan Mullen if he does that while he's at state? The fight thing, I mean, yeah. Like he did at Florida. I still have not watched all of it. I've seen just enough of it to see, a little bit of that. Hey, and real quick, here was a piece of news. JB made me and us and all of us aware of it earlier. Southern Miss fans, 2 games have been rescheduled for you. Here they are. These are new dates of games that have been postponed by COVID. All right. December the 5th, Southern Miss will go to UTEP. 5 days later, on Thursday night, December the 10th, Florida Atlantic will go to Southern Miss in Hattiesburg. Okay, so the 5th, you go on the road to Texas, El Paso. You come back the following Thursday and you host FAU. So there you go. All right, I want to do something real quick. Let's look at high school football this week. You got playoffs. Playoffs? Yes, you've got playoffs going on. Of course, you have regular season going on. Now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what we have, right, is we have playoffs, the first round of the playoffs this week in 4A, 3A, and 2A. We have the final week of the regular season for 1A and 5A and 6A. So Class 4A playoffs, first round this weekend here in the state of Mississippi. You have West Lauderdale supposed to host Shannon. JB, here's the thing about that. Shannon did not play this past week against Pontotoc because Shannon is out with COVID quarantine stuff.
Right.
That was their first week. So if that was their first week, then that means they're out this week also and can't play their playoff game. That means they're done.
That means a forfeit. Yeah, 2-0.
Mm-hmm. So West, even though it's scheduled for Shannon to be at West Lauderdale, I mean, by my math, West Lauderdale win and move on. It's basically like having a bye.
Only 56 days left.
Of what?
2020.
Okay, there we go. It'll be a new one soon, boys.
That's right, man. It's coming.
It's coming. All right, 4A playoffs. North Pontotoc goes to Clarksdale. Did you see where that team out in Texas beat Clarksdale last week? The Deion Sanders team beat Clarksdale like 50-0 or something like that, or 40-0.
Yeah, I was really, really surprised by that.
I was too. It's almost like Clarksdale said, man, we're in the playoffs. This team, winning, playing this team, we're going to sit some people, get healthy. Who cares? I mean, that's almost how it looked just glancing at the score and trying to figure out what could have happened. Leake Central goes to Itawamba AHS in Fulton. Choctaw Central is at Pontotoc. Pontotoc 8-1 this year under former Ole Miss DB Jeff Carter, the head coach there at Pontotoc.
The Fighting Roger Lambs.
That's it. He was a warrior.
Yeah, he was.
He was a warrior. They play in the Hollow. Ripley at Yazoo City. Louisville going to host Caledonia. Louisville's 8-1. Undefeated Newton County hosting Purvis. 4A playoffs continuing here. St. Stanislaus hosting North Pike. That'll be a good ball game. Florence goes to Poplarville. Didn't Jake Wimberly go to Florence?
Yes, he did. He was an Eagle.
Does he pull for the Eagles?
You know,
he calls Brandon games.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He didn't talk a whole lot about him.
He doesn't?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But I tell you what, I like Newton County and Louisville in 4A.
Yeah.
I don't know how the brackets are set up, but
to play for the North half, if possibly.
Yeah.
Okay. Look here. South Pike hosting Bay High. Macomb will host Van Cleve. Stone will host Mendenhall. Moss Point will host Lawrence County. They got off to a rough start. Moss Point did, but turned it on. They're 6-2 in hosting. And Richland 7-2, will host Sumrall. That's your Class 4A playoffs. I wanted to read this too. My mother-in-law commented on Facebook on the live stream. She says, Matt, Cathedral in Natchez has a 10-1 record. They were set up to win a state championship possibly, but because of a few cases of COVID in junior high, administrators have closed the school for 2 weeks, no sports allowed. How about that? Wow. I hate it for those kids on that high school team. You really hate it for them, coaches and everybody. All right, Class 3A, Water Valley goes to Choctaw County. Winona will host Kossuth. Houston goes to Senatobia. Aberdeen is 1-7 this year, but they are in the playoffs. They go to North Panola, who is 6-1. Nettleton goes to Humphreys County. Where is Humphreys County located, JB?
I think it's in Belzona.
Right where is Belzona, JB?
In between. Okay. Oh, you know where it is?
No, I was just messing with you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, I really don't know where it is. I'm 49.
It's on 49 North, in between Yazoo City and Indianola.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good little trip then for Nettleton.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half from Jackson.
Well, heck, that's a long trip. Okay. Yeah. Might be an overnighter. It will be an overnighter on the bus. Noxubee County hosting Byhalia. Kemper County hosting Wilkinson County. West Marion hosts Crystal Springs. This is first round of 3A playoffs on Friday night. Hazelhurst hosting Southeast Lauderdale. Velma Jackson, 6-1 this year, hosting Columbia, who's 7-2. Raleigh hosting Jefferson Davis County. Forest goes to Franklin County, or as Chicken Hawk says, Forest. Yazoo County goes to McGee, and Morton.
The Fighting Chicken Hawks.
Fighting Chicken Hawks. They've got the chicken trophy this year, don't they?
Yeah.
Morton 7-2. They are hosting Jefferson County. That's 3A. We'll take a break, come back. I'll run down the 2A games at some point when we come back, and also go to the phone line. Napoleon, you're hanging on. Just hang tight. We'll come to you next. Hang tight with me. I now know where Humphreys County is because JB knows just about all of them.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I've been through there many times.
Many times? Attaboy. Okay, so all that coming up here in the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. Stick around.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C-Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with autopay and paperless billing. Even without autopay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C-Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C-Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams summertime in Mississippi? Country pleasing sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo, where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan. Put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasing Sausage, countrypleasing.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from it. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence, or order it online, or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Hey, are you buying land or selling it? You need to let Matt Anderson with National Land Realty help you out. Matt Anderson Properties. Here's what Matt can do. If you're buying land, you can view the property without ever setting foot on it. They've got the 360-degree interactive drone touring. It's really cool. You got to check it out. And if you're selling property, Matt's going to get you consistent reports, comprehensive reports of who's looking, how many people look at your
on the Matt Wyatt Show.
Hey, JB.
Yeah, man, I was going to come to you too. What's up?
Well, before I go to the call, just real quick, I got a tweet here. I don't want to read the link. I just want to read the tweet of this news story real quick.
Yeah.
And then see what it is that you have to say.
Okay.
According to Clay Travis, he provides a link and says, here are Kanye West's state vote totals for president. Kanye has already conceded and announced that he is now focusing on 2024.
I love that laugh track.
I cannot get enough of it, man.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What'd you have for me?
Well, I got friends. You got friends. They all like to keep you in line.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
So I get this text in the break from Moore Bully. JB, Humphreys County is not in Belzona. Belzona is in Humphreys County. Of which I replied to him, semantics.
Semantics.
And geography. And I told him, I said, what does a map have to do with it? You know where I'm talking about.
Hey, call
Belzona.
Call him back and go Lebowski on him.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, Napoleon on the Davini Equipment phone line, Davini Equipment, Madison and Jackson. And Napoleon, with a name like Napoleon, I wonder if you ever have friends that say, hey, Napoleon, give me some of your tots. If you're Napoleon Dynamite fans. I love that movie, by the way. Napoleon, thanks for calling. What's up?
Yes. And I'm not Napoleon
Dynamite.
And they're coming to take me away, my friend. They're coming to take me away. You don't remember that one, do you?
Well, I kind of do get the reference, yes. But yeah, okay, so you're not that one either, huh?
But I was always called Napoleon for being the devil. They always said the devil was named Napoleon. So, I was always thought of as a devil, you know.
Yeah, well, what's in a name? You know, it's not your fault, right? So
I know, and I'm too short, I'm too tall to be the French Napoleon either, you know.
Yeah,
I don't have that Napoleon complex either.
That's great. That's great. All right, what's up?
Well, here's the thing. Last year when by the way, Con West need to take some Prozac and kind of calm his name down.
Okay, Prozac. Okay.
Homie had some real crucial issues there, so you know.
Like
he's one of those that they're coming to take me away. They need to come and take him away.
Crucial issues. Got it.
Thank you. But now, last year when LSU beat up everybody, and they got, I think it was 60 touchdowns, and this been kind of crossed my mind. Last year, they had the offensive coordinator was also intense in the wide receivers, and from what I can understand is they did a lot with watching the ball into their hands.
Mm.
You know, when the quarterback would throw the ball, they were real good at running through the pass or catching the pass, watching it into their hand. Mm. And I'm wondering, is that the reason why Mississippi State is coming up so short, because they don't have that same kind of coaching on for the wide receivers are concerned in they run pass situation?
You know, it's an interesting question, Napoleon, because there's been a lot of chatter about the wide receivers yesterday and today. Monday, Mike Leach had his weekly press conference. He talked about the wide receivers. He kind of mentioned that they've got to get them to run full speed. That's just one thing he said, do everything full speed, whether you're getting a football or not. Well, then he touched on it again today in the teleconference they do over the phone. They asked him, and the way he described it was, we've just got to get them to play hard, okay? And he's talked about other parts of the team playing hard. You're talking about, running through the football and some of the ways they're coached. I can just tell you from my own eyes and having been at practice, the way they practice and the way they coach them at practice, they're doing all the right stuff, and they get after them. Those receivers, they run more in that offense in practice than anybody. And I'm afraid.
Okay, but
I'm afraid what's happening is those guys are. I don't know how it would be this way, but I think they're getting in ball games, Napoleon, and they are expecting it to kind of be easy. And when I see other teams winning that 50-50 ball so much versus a state receiver, it just makes me think, what is it about what they have been through preparing for this game that has not prepared them to win those 50-50 balls? Is it practice? Is it that they expect it to be easy in the games? I don't really know the answer, but I think one thing you're touching on is something that everybody is starting to notice, is that way too often the state's receivers don't win it. That's right. The other guys win the 50-50 stuff.
Okay, now let me give you an example of something. In the first game that they played, I think the guy name is Mitchell.
Okay.
Don't they have a wide receiver named Mitchell?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's his name.
It is.
Okay. I paid attention by listening to the radio. You and my man, I be checking out the game.
Mm-hmm.
And one of you all described that when he caught one of those, caught his one pass, that the pass was down there by his knees, and instead of him, pulling the pass up in his chest or grabbing at it, he just caught it right on his side like it was a nice, smooth catch.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that pointed out that he was watching the ball into his hand.
Mm-hmm.
He kept his eye on the ball into his hand. And if you go back and remember LSU, them boys very seldom last year dropped any kind of ball.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't dropping them, losing them. They were grabbing them when they got to them. They were pulling it in. And I'm wondering if Mississippi State is coming up short on the technique of watching the ball into your hand.
You know,
does it make a lot of sense to you?
It does make sense. I mean, it could be. And, you know, Napoleon, that's a very fundamental thing that if, you know, you may be doing it in practice. They have a very high catch rate in practice. They do. And it also could be a deal of then you get in a game and everything seems like it's moving faster in the game than it feels like in practice, and you get rushed. They call it getting sped up. Like you, as a player, you sort of get sped up and you take your eyes off of it, or you don't have the same
intensity.
Yeah, or something in the game. Like you get rattled. So, you know, you could have some of those things going on. The other thing I think is in this zone coverage stuff that they've seen ever since Arkansas, they have fewer guys open in space. They have had so few times where you're actually getting the ball to receivers away from defenders that they're not getting a whole lot of opportunities on it either. So they're just kind of getting clogged up, you know, and there may be something to it looking it in, but that's a very fundamental thing you have to do for sure.
Okay, as you know, as you've been a quarterback and you always threw it there, and you know, like sometimes you throw the ball with them anticipating that the ball is going to come to them, and that might be another thing that you got 3 or 4 wide receivers running downfield, and you don't know if the ball going to come to you or go to your partner or whatever on that play, or maybe they call it out, you know, that kind of thing, or he has to change his call. He has to change his pattern of throwing maybe to A and go to B or C, and maybe they're not necessarily aware of it, just aware that the ball, after he snapped the ball or called the play, then that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if the wide receivers need a lot more intense training on being prepared to come for the ball and, you know, watch it into their hands.
Sure.
And the other question, don't you think they need to add more running into their game to make what they're trying to do a little bit more two-dimensional necessary to be one-dimensional? Because, like you say, after the first game, everybody came down with a defense that's been locking them down. So shouldn't they be running the ball a lot more than what they're doing?
Yeah, I think so. I think so in theory. And the truth about it is, Napoleon, when you look up numbers at the previous places Mike Leach has coached, his offenses actually did run the ball a little more often than they have been running it here at State. And you're trying to figure out why. I think one reason why is because starting in week 2, they've been so poor on offense that they can't stay on the field long enough to run enough plays to be able to really mix it up. There's been way too many 3-and-outs and too many turnovers. They haven't gotten any kind of rhythm to give them a chance to try some of their, you know, running game a little more often in normal situations. Hey, Napoleon, thanks for the call, man.
All right.
Have a good one. Hour 3 coming up. And when we do that, we'll jump back into those 2A playoff matchups for this Friday night, plus much, much more. So if you're sticking around, stick around for that. If you leave us, see y'all tomorrow. Stay with me.
Purchasing a home can
Farm
be one of the...
Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with autopay and paperless billing. Even without autopay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams summertime in Mississippi? Country Pleasin' sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan. Put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasin' sausage, countrypleasin.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from it. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence, or order it online, or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasin', please.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wyatt stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Hey, are you buying land or selling it? You need to let Matt Anderson with National Land Realty help you out. Matt Anderson Properties. Here's what Matt can do. If you're buying land, you can view the property without ever setting foot on it. They've got the 360-degree interactive drone touring. It's really cool. You got to check it out. And if you're selling property, Matt's going to get you consistent reports, comprehensive reports of who's looking, how many people looked at your listing. You need to let him help you. Matt Anderson Properties with National Land Realty. Call him, 601-408-5155. Hey, if you listen to the show, you know that the new third hour of the Matt Wyatt Show is brought to you by Overstreet Properties in Starkville. Here's what you need to know. If you're looking for a weekend home or condo, full-time residence, investment property, maybe just an apartment to lease, you got a student going to school at State, call Kane Overstreet at Overstreet Properties. In Starkville, it's 323-8618, or look them up online, overstreetproperties.com.
Jackson. Live
in the studio.
Live and local. This is the Matt Wyatt Show. Talking about sports from around the world and right here at home. Streaming to you at the Zone, 1059.com, and on your radio on ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
Here we go. Let's roll. Hour number 3 of the show has begun. I'm Matt. In the Farm Bureau studio, Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. Hour 3 presented by Overstreet Properties in Starkville. If you headed up there for any reason at all, you're going to Starkville to live there permanently. Like the Wyatts are going to do sometime in the next 10 years or so. Keep saying that. I'm going to talk it into existence, right? 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6, Matt. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and he'll lift you up in due time. Okay. You're moving to Starkville. Maybe you are just headed up there for ball games on the weekends like I do. You need a condo like I've got. Whatever the case is, make sure you go to Overstreet Properties. Tell Kane Overstreet what you're looking for, and he'll get you hooked up. Overstreetproperties.com. JB, somebody on the text line loved something Napoleon said during his phone call. Have you seen this?
I have not.
And I thought, he did say that, didn't he? The texter said, I love it. Quote, he don't know if it's coming to him or his partner.
That's it, man.
He said he's running the route, and he goes out there and turns around, and he don't know if he's getting the ball or not. He don't know if it's coming to him or his partner. Thanks, Napoleon. Enjoyed your phone call. If y'all want to be like Napoleon and make the show, you can. Call me on the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. Here's the number, 995-1059. 601-995-1059. Text me on the aforementioned text line. It's the Country Pleasing Sausage text line, 885-ESPN. 885-ESPN. Went over the 4A and 3A playoff matchups you're going to have on Friday night. Here is 2A.
Hometown Heroes with them? Yeah. Well,
let's see. We talked about them. They didn't actually play there, though. With the game I did, it was Biggersville hosting Smithville, but we got to talking about East Union.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, remember the whole urchin thing came up?
Yeah, I was going, what, how do you have an urchin?
The East Union Urchins, their colors are mustard and brown.
You're kidding.
No, and their mascot is a seahorse. It's awesome. It is fantastic. They're 7-1, and they're hosting O'Bannon. Pisgah hosting Jay-Z George. 2A playoffs Friday night. Strayhorn goes to Northside, who is 7-0. Help me out. Where is Northside, JB?
Northside in. I'm not 100% sure, and more Bully may be fact checking me, so I want to make sure I get this right.
I guarantee you, he's doing that. He just can't wait to text you again. I'm telling you, you got to go. When he does that, you got to call him up and go all Lebowski on him.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
It's like your opinion, man. Okay, where was I? Madison St. Joe at Eupora. Calhoun City hosting Riverside. Coahoma County will host Manatee. That's a pretty good little trip now. Manatee is between Tupelo and Fulton. It's out there. And
Northside High School is in Shelby, Mississippi.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if that tells you what you wanted to know or not.
Strayhorn at I just was not familiar. They're 7-0. Got a good football team. East Webster goes to Pelahatchie. Walnut up northwest of here, 7-2 on the year. They'll host Marks Palmer. Taylorsville 9-1, hosting Enterprise Lincoln. JB, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that Taylorsville is going to be in 1A football next year. They're going to clean up if everything holds true. Collins will host Philadelphia on Friday night in the playoffs. Wesson hosting Bay Springs. East Marion goes to Union. Union is 7-2. East Marion 2-8. 7-1. Scott Central going to host St. Patrick. This is the first round of 2A playoffs Friday night. Bogachita hosting Puckett. Perry Central hosts Newton. And Enterprise Clark 7-1. Their only loss this year is to Taylorsville. Enterprise Clarks, the Bulldogs, 7-1. They are hosting West Lincoln. Okay, and then you've got first round of the Class 6A of the MAIS playoffs. Friday night, you're going to have PCS hosting Oak Forest from Louisiana, and then you're going to have Jackson Academy, JA, hosting Park Lane. That is first round of the 6A MAIS. You're going to have first round of the 1A MAIS on Friday night. DeSoto, Arkansas, hosting Prairie View from Louisiana. Tallulah, hosting North Sunflower. Wilkinson Christian, hosting Calhoun Academy. And Briarfield from Louisiana, hosting Tensas. Is that how you pronounce that? Is it Tensas? Tensas, Louisiana.
Shout out to Wilkinson Christian. That's right over in Woolville, which is right by Centerville, where I lived for a number of years.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it looks like, okay, so for the MAIS, 2A, 3A, 4A, and 5A, Friday night is going to be the second round.
That's correct. They started last week.
Okay, so in 5A MAIS, Hartfield is at Leak. Leak is 10-0.
Huge game.
Hartfield's 7-4.
That game might be the winner of the whole shebang. Whoever wins that game.
Yeah. Okay. Leak 10-0. Lamar hosts Park Place. This is 5A MAIS playoffs. Starkville Academy will go to Heritage. How about that? That'd be a fun. Heritage.
That's an old rival game from back in the day.
Yes, it is. Adams hosting Pillow. In 4A MAIS, Canton Academy goes to Riverfield, Louisiana. Cathedral, it was mentioned they're supposed to play Winston Academy, but like I told you, we got word that Cathedral had a couple of COVID cases or some in their junior high. So the administrators of the school shut everything down, including all sports, including high school football. They're done.
That's just such a small campus, and so those kids are all interacting with one another, whether it's through the cafeteria or it's just it's pretty sad because that's a pretty. I talked with the coach at Centerville Academy this year, and he said he thought Cathedral or Riverfield were the best two teams in the whole 4A.
In the 4A. Also in 4A, Brookhaven Academy goes to North Delta. Dadgum, that's a long trip.
Yeah, it is.
Tri-County goes to Wayne Academy. And then in 3A, Glenbrook goes, Louisiana goes to Carroll Academy, who's 9-0. Greenville St. Joe goes to Silva Bay. Greenville St. Joe's 8-1. Indianola Academy is going to be at Greenville Christian, who is 8-1. Winona Christian, who's 9-2, goes to Marshall Academy. That's 3A. And then 2A MAIS, you got Sharkey Issaquena at Manchester. Manchester 10-0. Humphreys Academy, who's 9-2, goes to Ben's Ford.
Yeah, and that's Humphreys Academy is in Belzona, which is in Humphreys County.
Ding, 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 ding. You hear that, more bully? Is it Marvel or Marvell, Arkansas?
Marvel,
Arkansas at Delta Academy, and then Delta Streets Academy at Riverdale, Louisiana. So that's a look at the playoffs. Now, I didn't go out here and notch out for you all of the final regular season games in 6A, 5A, and 1A of the MHSAA. We'll jump into some of those maybe as we get later in the week. We've got a big one up here. Tupelo goes to Oxford. Tupelo's playing better. They've won a bunch of games in a row. 5 in a row, 4 in a row, 5, I think. They're sitting there at 6-3 right now, but Oxford is like big time. They're 8-0, and it's at Oxford. That's one to take a look at. Anyway, we'll get into some of the Oak Grove at Northwest Rankin. Oak Grove 8-0. They bring the light show into town for you. You don't have to turn the lights on when Oak Grove comes in. They light it up with their offense. Hands full. Okay, so anyway, there's a few of those to look forward to on Friday night. I can't wait. Like I said, I think right now, about 99% sure, and I got to make some phone calls today and get going on that, but I really want to go to Enterprise Clark take the cameras and see what we can uncover there on Friday night. All right, Jason in Flagstaff, Country Please and text line. Y'all text me. It's 885 ESPN. He said O'Bannon is playing good. The whole school district was canceled earlier in the year. And I guess they're playing football. They're on somebody's schedule. Ready, Teddy? Listen to this, JB. Teddy says he was born in Field Memorial Hospital in Centerville. How about that?
That's pretty cool. I lived right across the street from Field Memorial in the parsonage.
Yeah. The parsonage. I lived in it because of my dad, a few parsonages growing up. We didn't stay in them too long. Lived in a bunch of houses over the course of my life.
I have too, pal.
Okay, and yes, unnamed texter, thank you. This says, how about that catch from that kid at Park Place that was on your Twitter page, even though they got the call wrong? Y'all, the best way I can describe it for you is it is a high school version, exact high school version of the Tyrone Prothero catch for Alabama years ago against Southern Miss. Remember how famous that catch was? Where he reached around the body of a defender, caught the ball with his hands, and then pinned it to the back of the Alabama player. Okay, and so you'll see it. I just retweeted it again so that you'd see it if you want to go check it out for yourself. A guy named Paul Walker sent me a link and said, hey, you got to see this video of this catch that I saw. And it was, this says Park Place. Was it Park Lane, though?
Park Lane's out of Macomb. Park Place is right on the city line between Pearl and Brandon.
Okay, this is Park Place. All right, so this was Copiah Academy and Park Place football. And you'll see it. It's right there. It's the last thing I retweeted. Click play on that video and watch it. It is a kid doing that exact same thing in that ball game against Copiah the other night. And they had great video of it and kind of rewound it. And what you're going to see is this kid makes this unbelievable Tyrone Prothero type of catch around the defender, and the officials ruled it incomplete. Now, I will say, in the defense of the officials, the angle that you see on the video, you honestly can't see if the ball did touch the ground for sure or not when he rolled over. So maybe they saw it touch the ground. But anyway, if you haven't seen it, you will not see a better catch in a high school game than that one. I mean, it's phenomenal. So go check it out. I am Radio Wyatt on Twitter.
I'm going to send you a picture of a touchdown catch, and you tell me if it's pretty good. It was off a halfback pass.
Okay.
All right.
I want to see it. Send it to me. QB1 on the Country Pleasing text line says, ask Jason in Flagstaff if he thinks Trump will pull out the win in Arizona. I thought all that was over.
There's still a few states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, and Wisconsin just looks like Biden just was announced the winner there, and he's been announced the pre-winner in whatever that means. Is that like preseason poll in Arizona?
Arizona. Okay. So does that mean it's over or what?
No, there's still a few swing states. Last time I looked, Biden was almost at 250 electoral votes, and Trump was just short of 220.
And you got to get to 270.
The race to 270.
Okay. He's going to have to pull out a what's he going to have to do? He's going to
have to pull a Derek Wittenberg, Lorenzo Charles combo.
Mm-hmm.
Get it at the buzzer.
Right. Hey, and JB, not for air, but you might want to take a look at the most recent text there on the text line. Get some someone inquiring about something at the radio station. You might just take a look. Got a name there.
You got it, man. Thank you.
Okay, here is a tweet I want to bring to your attention. Now, I was going to ask you all the question. I was discussing this because I did an interview on Bo Bound's show, I think yesterday or the day before. I can't remember which day. But anyway, did an interview on Bo's show, and at the very end of it, he asked me who was the defensive MVP for Mississippi State? I answered it quickly, and I'd been thinking about the past game, and so I said Martin Emerson. I might go with Martin Emerson, who all these teams seem to be staying away from him, and he's been really good. You know, if I put more thought into it, I might come up with Kobe Jones. I might come up with Errol Thompson or one of the older guys on that defense, the MVP. But it made me think, okay, if I were to ask y'all, and we'll see what kind of answers we get, and then we'll go through some of those. But if I were to ask y'all at this point in the year, with where you are at State and at Ole Miss, who is the MVP on offense and defense? Who are your MVPs, mid-season most valuable players, offensively and defensively, State and Ole Miss? Again, think on that. Let me know what y'all think. We'll come back and talk about it in a minute. Speaking of Mississippi State, though, I got to bring this up. So today, teleconference, SEC coaches, they get on the telephone, they answer questions from people around the league. And here's a quote from Mike Leach that is popping up on my Twitter feed, retweeted by Jake Wimberly. Mike Leach was asked if any more Mississippi State players could be headed to the transfer portal or if that's over. Here's the quote. I don't know if it is or isn't. I'm not too concerned with it. Now, I don't know. I haven't listened to it. I will go back and listen. I don't know if that's the whole quote or not. I don't know if it is or isn't, meaning the transfer portal stuff, is that done? I don't know if it is or isn't, and I'm not too concerned with it. What did I tell y'all yesterday? We were making comparisons, how little Dan Mullen used to care what anybody thought about how he did stuff. And then the comparison to Mike Leach, you know how little he cares? Less, if that's even possible. He's just old school. They're in a rebuild deal. He knows it. And they have a long way to go. One thing that jumped out at me, too, about the Monday press conference, I went back and listened to some of that he touched on, and I wanted to watch some film and see if I could see those instances, is effort from receivers. He mentioned those guys running full speed on every single route, everything they do, even if they think they aren't getting the football. Right? And it immediately makes sense to me because you think about it, you know, and compare it to, say, like basketball, right? You're under the basket, you get a rebound. You outlet to one of your guards out here on the wing, and here he goes up the court, 3-on-1 or 3-on-2, fast break to the other end, and they're all faster than you, right? And there might be a tendency, we got the numbers, we're better, I can't catch them. I'm just going to stand here and watch them run a fast break. I'm not getting the ball. And they go down and they miss the layup. And if you'd been running down there, you get the rebound, lay it back up. But because you were watching, you weren't in position to do it. Right? So there's a basketball analogy for you. Does it sound like I have done that before? Yeah, I've done that. I stood there and watched. And I shouldn't have. But, and in my defense, I was a hustler. Okay, I was. I didn't do that much. But anyway, point being, in football, you're a receiver. You're one of 5 guys out in the route. You know, you read a certain coverage. Maybe you're the X. You're by yourself. Maybe you're not. But you don't think you're getting the ball, or you get covered initially and you just stop. Or you slow up. Or you don't try to get there. Well, what does that affect? If you do that enough, or if enough guys do that kind of thing, you just kind of, you know, shuttle it down, so to speak. I'm not running full speed. They're in zone coverage. I can't really run by this safety anyway. I'm just going to pull up. Well, if any of that kind of stuff is happening, especially if more than one guy is doing that, yeah, it's going to have an effect. Things aren't going to look right to the quarterback. Timing's going to be off. You know, you let your number one receiver fall down, or the quarterback makes a wrong read. He's trying to come to you, and meanwhile, you don't think you're getting the ball, so you're not running full speed. The thing about it is, for me and you as fan and media, it's harder for us to differentiate who is and isn't running full speed because we don't watch them every day in practice. But the coaches do. They know. Plus, they're watching it in, slow motion sometimes on the film. They know. For us, we might not necessarily be able to see it. Coaches, they're at every single rep in practice. They know that guy's running or that guy ain't running. So if those things are going on, then you got issues. And the only way you get over that is, I don't know what. You just have to impress upon them. I don't care who you are, how good you are, how few numbers we have in the depth chart. If you pull this, I'm not playing you. So it gets really cutthroat. It can. When you're trying to get effort. It just sounded like to me, it's not like a complete and utter lack of effort. And on defense, I think they play with great effort. But listening to the comments, it sounds almost like on offense, sometimes there is effort, but sometimes there isn't. Well, they just ain't going to cut it. So they'll have to really dial down and get down to the bottom of that whole thing. And doing it during the middle of the season sure is tough. Doing it when you don't have maybe the full complement of players and numbers aren't up, it's hard to convince that player you'll bench him if he has nobody behind him. Well, two more recruiting classes and we got a full depth chart of players we recruited. You better run. I'll sit you on the bench and won't think about it. I got 2 more guys behind you. See, so I think that's where they're driving at. Y'all stick around.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with auto pay and paperless billing. Even without auto pay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams summertime in Mississippi? Country Pleasin' Sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan. Put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasin' Sausage, countrypleasin.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from it. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence, or order it online, or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasin', please.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wyatt stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much, and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Hey, are you buying land or selling it? You need to let Matt Anderson with National Land Realty help you out. Matt Anderson Properties. Here's what Matt can do. If you're buying land, you can view the property without ever setting foot on it. They've got the 360-degree interactive drone touring. It's really cool. You got to check it out. And if you're selling property, Matt's going to get you consistent reports, comprehensive reports of who's looking, how many people looked at your listing. You need to let him help you. Matt Anderson Properties with National Land Realty. Call him, 601-408-5155. Hey, if you listen to the show, you know that the new third hour of the Matt Wyatt Show is brought to you by Overstreet Properties in Starkville. Here's what you need to know. If you're looking for a weekend home or condo, full-time residence, investment property, maybe just an apartment to lease, you got a student going to school at State, call Kane Overstreet at Overstreet Properties. In Starkville, it's 323-8618, or look them up online, overstreetproperties.com.
.9 The Zone and worldwide online at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you. The question was for the team you root for, assuming most everybody listening is either a Mississippi State fan or an Ole Miss fan here, who's your MVP? Who's your offensive and defensive MVPs at this point in the year? Who are they? Got a few comments on that here on the Country Pleasing text line, 885-ESPN. I'll tell you who I think it is coming up. I'm going to give you a couple of stats, though, first. These are team stats here, okay? So at this point, everybody has played a minimum of 4, a maximum of 6. You got Vandy and Florida missing a game. They're sitting there at 4 games each. Everybody else, either 5 or 6 games. The way they do stats in the SEC at this point, kind of the halfway point of the year, they do the averages. They're putting averages in there because not all things are equal. Obviously, different numbers of games. Okay. Number 1 scoring offense in the league is Alabama, 47 points a game. Number 2, Florida at 42. Number 3 scoring offense in the SEC is Ole Miss at 38 points a game. The 2 worst scoring offenses will face off in Starkville this weekend. 13 out of 14 teams, Mississippi State scoring offense at 14 points a game. Vanderbilt last with 11 points a ball game. You want some perspective on this? Let me give it to you. In terms of touchdowns, Mississippi State has scored 9 touchdowns this year. 9 touchdowns this year for State. The next closest to them, just above them, would be Missouri, who scored 13. At the top of the league, Alabama has scored 37 touchdowns. Ole Miss next has scored 32. So you got some teams that you just played, and you're going to play one of them that are already over 30 touchdowns this year. You're sitting there with 9. Kind of puts it in perspective how bad the offenses have been. All right, so what about defense in terms of giving up points? So in terms of points, that's what we're talking about, average points per ball game. State is middle of the pack with A&M both giving up, and Florida giving up 29, an average of 29 points a ball game. You look at 2 of those 3 have played Alabama. Okay, so that's kind of how that shakes out. Last in the SEC in scoring defense, Ole Miss. They've given up over 40, just a hair over 40 points a ball game. Vanderbilt is 13th at 38. Okay, so not a lot of defense. Ole Miss, the last rushing defense in the SEC. State is number 3. Best rushing defenses in the league go Georgia, A&M, Mississippi State. So, you kind of, all right, and the passing deal. Well, let me go one more here. Rushing offense in terms of running the ball. Ole Miss is number 1 in the SEC. State is last. How about that? Opposite ends. Ole Miss, the best rushing offense in the league right now at 215 rushing yards per game. Ole Miss has 13 rushing touchdowns in the year. That's tied with South Carolina for second in the league behind Alabama, who has 18 rushing touchdowns. But Ole Miss, the number 1 rushing offense in terms of yards per game. State last at 30 yards rushing a ball game, 1 rushing touchdown on the year. Few team stats for you. I gave that penalties stat earlier in the show when the homecoming queen was here. It's almost like a trivia question. It's a trick question. You go, well, who's the least penalized team in the conference? And most people go, I bet it's Bama. No, that'd be Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has averaged just 32 penalty yards per game. The most penalized teams are Alabama, Georgia, and Texas A&M. In fact, Georgia A&M, the only teams that average over 60 penalty yards a ball game. So, I don't guess anybody, could have or would have seen that coming. But on the individual player side of it, Jerrion Ely, 4th in the SEC in rushing. 87 a game. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns himself. Najee Harris, Alabama, number 1. Look at total offense. Mac Jones, Alabama, 1. Miles Brennan, LSU, number 2. And Matt Corral, Ole Miss, number 3. Costello's in the top 10 in terms of total offense. If you look at just throwing the ball, average per game throwing the ball, we can say what we want about Miles Brennan, but he played in 3 games, and he leads the league at 370 passing yards per ball game. He's already thrown 11 touchdowns and 3 picks. Kid's playing pretty well on a bad team. Mac Jones, number 2, passing average per game. Matt Corral is number 4 at 307 a game. Costello is number 5 at 256 a game. Again, their stats, that's what that is. So obviously they don't tell you the whole story. Receiving per game, receptions per game, Elijah Moore, Ole Miss, leads the league there at 10 catches a ball game. All right, State has a receiver in the top 10, but it's a running back. Jaquavius Marks is tied for 7th in the league at 6 catches per ball game. Kind of put some perspective on that. And here's the other one I was going to give to you that is really just, I mean, you know it, I know it. It's not a surprise, but you go, holy cow. When you hear this, you're like, huh? Read that to me one more time. Did you say what I thought you said? Yeah, that's what I said. Turnover margin. JB, let this sink in.
Yes, sir.
We know that Mississippi State is the last in the league in turnover margin. We know it. But when you really look at the numbers, they have gained 7 takeaways, 3 interceptions, 4 fumbles. They have lost 19 total turnovers.
Yeah. Heck, 6 INTs in one game.
Yeah, 14 interceptions, 5 fumbles. State has given it away 19 times. The next closest is Ole Miss with 11. At this point in the year, through 5 games, Mississippi State is minus 12 in turnover margin. I have never seen that in my life from an SEC team. I've never seen that. I look at these stats, and of course, as a media person for the last what feels like 20 years, I'm always looking at these stats every season. I have never looked at this and seen a negative 12 turnover margin after 5 games. I have never seen it.
Yeah, that's what happens when the quarterbacks and the receivers aren't on the same page.
Yeah. Offensive MVP for me, for State, the only one I could point to would be Duquavius Marks. Defensively for me, I do think I'd go Emerson. They stay away from him. For Ole Miss, it's going to be Corral on one side of the ball, and I don't know about their defense. Y'all would have to help me. Maybe Sam Williams. I know he's up there in terms of statistically. That's probably what I'd go with.
Hey, here's something interesting. My best offensive player on Mississippi State is also the best defensive player on Ole Miss.
Who's that?
Nobody.
You're not going anyway.
No.
I got somebody.
I'm with you with Ely and Emerson.
I got somebody sitting in my office right in front of me.
Uh-oh.
Mary Liddy. Hey.
Hey.
All right. So I know you have voice lessons. Do you have time to sit here for like 5 minutes? We come back. I have to ask you a question because today
I actually set a timer on my watch.
You set a timer? Okay, good. She just got home from school. Today is actually National Candy Day.
Mama told me.
Yeah, so we're going to have a candy discussion.
Candy conversation.
Candy conversation when we come back here. I'm Matt. She's Mary Liddy. We're in the Farm Bureau studio. Stick around.
I can only stay on for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Bull. There's a lot of that out there in the wireless world. But C Spire believes that you deserve a plan that is what it actually says it is. Here's the real deal. The best plan for 1 or 2 lines. Unlimited talk and text with 10 gigabytes of high-speed data. And here's the real deal. $45 per line with auto pay and paperless billing. Even without auto pay, it's just $50. Now, how's that for the fine print? No bull. That's the real deal. Switch to C Spire today at cspire.com/real deal. C Spire, customer inspired. Man, that sounds like summertime in Mississippi, doesn't it? You know what else just screams Summertime in Mississippi. Country pleasing sausage from Country Meat Packers in Florence. Check me out. Jalapeno and cheddar. Just got it at Kroger in Tupelo where I live. On grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan. Put it on a bun. Get some andouille, make some gumbo. It is the best sausage you've ever put in your mouth. Country Pleasing Sausage, countrypleasing.com. It is made up of hand-picked hams, bacon, and pork loin. That's why it tastes so good. I even got this cool hat from them. Check them out. Go by the butcher shop there in Florence or order it online or look for it in grocery stores. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Hey, are you buying land or selling it? You need to let Matt Anderson with National Land Realty help you out. Matt Anderson Properties. Here's what Matt.
At thezone1059.com.
All right, all set to wrap up with you here. Hour 3 of the show presented by Overstreet Properties in Starkville, Stark Vegas, whatever you call it. If you're headed up there, moving up there, anything residential, moving permanently, going up for several weekends for ball games, you need a condo, maybe you're a student, you need to lease an apartment, anything like that, go to Overstreet Properties in Starkville. Trust me on that. Kane Overstreet, go see him first. My 9-year-old daughter, Mary Liddy, is here in the Farm Bureau studio. So today is National Candy Day, and you, kid, have always
loved candy.
Have always loved candy. All right, so I remember even when you were teeny tiny, I'm talking about like teeny tiny. 3-4 years old, we used to make little candy videos. You do candy review videos.
Yeah.
You were really into watching candy review videos there for a while.
Yeah, because I love candy.
When's the last time you watched one of those?
Like a million years or something.
Have you had any candy today? Yeah.
The only candy I've had is at 2. Wait, was it 2?
Was it at school?
No, but I ate Hershey Kisses and one sucker.
Oh, okay. Last night you had a sucker unlike anything I've ever seen before.
It was a caramel apple sucker. So, let me explain it.
All right, explain it.
So, it was like just a normal caramel apple flavored sucker on the inside. Then there's caramel around it, and you suck the caramel off, then you suck the apple.
So the apple sucker is surrounded.
And once you get to the middle of it, you've already eaten the caramel, and then you can eat the apple.
But it was actual caramel that they had dipped the sucker in.
Yeah, it was real caramel.
That's good. All right, so if you had to make a list on National Candy Day of your favorite 3 candies, number 1, number 2, number 3. What would that list be?
Oh, that's hard.
Why is it hard? Hard to limit it down to just 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers number 1, huh?
Yes.
No, yes. I'm not doing them in order of like my favorite to second favorite. I'm just doing 3, and then I'll decide which one.
Okay.
Maybe Jolly Ranchers. Ooh, white chocolate.
Okay.
And
bananas.
Anything like maybe those caramel apple pops.
Okay, caramel apple pops. Number 1, number 2, number 3, Jolly Ranchers.
What was the second one?
You said white chocolate.
Okay.
Talking about Jason Williams?
No.
I think my top favorite is white chocolate.
Okay, number 1. There you go.
Second favorite is the caramel apple things, and then Jolly Ranchers. But I do love Jolly Ranchers. So.
All right, here's my number 3.
You don't understand how much I love white chocolate if I love Jolly Ranchers, and that's the third.
There's a big bag of Jolly Ranchers right there. You want one?
No.
What color do you want, dear? What
I'll
flavor?
eat one after because
Okay,
I have boys and I don't want to eat a blue one because it'll make my
It'll turn your mouth
blue.
All right, my 3 favorite candy on National Candy Day. Number 3, drum roll, please. Number 3 is going to be those white chocolate Hershey's Kisses, or the swirl.
Oh yeah.
You know,
it's like it's like a little dome of milk chocolate on the inside. Then it has white chocolate on the outside with a little swirl of
swirl. The swirl
the
white
milk
chocolate Hershey's Kisses. That's number 3.
When I was little, I used to think milk chocolate and white chocolate were the same thing because milk is white.
It's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, number 2 for me on the candy list, I think I would probably go with Jolly Ranchers myself. I'd put that at number 2. Number 2.
Oh, number 2.
And number 1, my number 1 favorite candy.
Wait. I'm going to guess. Hey, is it the payday thing?
Nope.
Is it a bar?
No.
It's not a bar.
It's little pieces that come in a bag.
A bag?
Candy corn.
Bingo!
Oh!
Candy corn.
I was getting there. My microphone.
All right, let's play again. I'm ready.
Okay.
No, that's it. It's candy corn. That's it. That's number 1 for me. So
okay.
And so JB got it. So
what's your favorite candy, JB?
My favorites are Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah.
And then
everyone likes Jolly Ranchers.
Oh, I love them, and I love all the different ways you can get those flavors. You know, I like
know.
the chewy Jolly Ranchers. Yeah.
I love those. Yeah. Those are my favorite, but I can't have them because I have a mouthpiece in my mouth and it gets stuck into my teeth.
Yeah,
I had that problem too. I wore braces for like 5
So sad. They're my favorite.
All right, so you got to go to voice lessons, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, head on down. Tell mommy hi. And we'll have some Jolly Ranchers after voice lessons. All right?
Okay.
All right. Hey. You ready?
Yeah.
See
ya.
That's her. And Mary Liddy's off to voice lessons. All right. So, National Candy Day. Happy Candy Day, everybody. Back over here before we get done on the Country Please and text line. We're talking about if you had to pick an MVP for your offense and your defense right now, what would you pick? Who would you pick? QB1 texted and said for the state defense, it would be Aaron Brule, linebacker. He says the offensive MVP for state would be LSU. Ben texted the show and said the Mississippi State MVP is Tucker Day, the punter. You know, Tucker got banged up in that Alabama game. Didn't get to finish it. All right, so I automatically went Matt Corral as your MVP of the Ole Miss offense at this point in the year, but somebody texted and said that it's Elijah Moore, the receiver, the offensive MVP for Ole Miss by a landslide, he says.
Well, Elijah Moore wouldn't be putting up the numbers he's putting up if it wasn't for Matt Corral.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. Can't have one without the other, it seems, but you can have other receivers, but
yeah,
he's definitely his number 1 target, so that you can understand that.
Sure. Jam says that he would go with Marks on offense also. Think about that. True freshman running back, Jaquavius Marks. He's certainly been the most consistent you've had at that position in terms of being on the field, and I hope he's okay, man. His head got slammed into the turf against Alabama in a bad way, and he was pretty much out. I hope he's going to be okay. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona sent us a picture. There are candy suckers out there with scorpions in them. I mean, what? Why? I'm looking at the picture. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Is this what we are capable of as human beings? Is making candy suckers with scorpions on the inside? You can see it. Why? I'm serious. Why? Doesn't make any sense. On this day in 1970, hold on, JB, 1970. I bet I could tell you what the nugget is, and you might even be able to guess the year. On this day in the 70s, you can see if you can tell me what year it is, JB.
All right.
The Jackson 5 appeared on Soul Train.
Oh, I'd say probably 74.
Really close, 72.
Oh, wow.
Yep, 72. On this day in 97.
Do you know who hosted Soul Train?
Oh, who hosted Soul Train?
Don Cornelius.
Don Cornelius. You know, the lasting image in my head of watching Soul Train, the reruns of that growing up.
Line dancing.
Yeah, the line dance deal. They would form a line, really like a tunnel, like a pathway. They'd get a line of people on one side, a line on the other, with this lane in the middle, and somebody go dancing down through there.
Yeah, I remember.
On this day in 97, the 100th episode of Frasier aired on NBC.
Great show.
It's a great show. And, you know, I guess because I was in college, like I'm in college in 97, I didn't catch it until it was replay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think I ever watched a single solitary episode of it while it was airing, live or in syndication. But I have watched a bunch of replays. I think it came up one time on this show because we do radio, and I said, it's one of those shows that sort of was centered around a radio show or a radio personality. The only other one I could think of was WKRP in Cincinnati. There have not been a bunch of them.
That was an excellent show, too, man.
Yeah, WKRP in Cincinnati.
I love Johnny Fever.
The Thanksgiving episode, the turkeys, famous scene from that one.
So, Roz from Frasier was a good friend of mine. She was a member at the church in Dallas that I served.
Really? Okay.
Great lady. Great lady.
She did. She played a great part on that show, too.
Yeah.
She was really good. What was her, like, I guess her character's role was the producer of the radio show?
Yeah.
It was a great show.
Her real name is Perry Gilpin.
Okay. That's cool. I watched a British movie a couple of years ago, JB, about a radio station. And they had this one guy who was really popular and his show was doing well. Well, there was another host whose show was kind of tanking. And he sort of lost it. He sort of just lost his mind, and it was a comedy, but it was pretty serious. The guy went home, one thing led to another. He came back to the radio station with a shotgun. He didn't hurt anybody, but he walked in there and held the successful radio host hostage for a couple days.
What is the name of that?
I cannot think of the name of it. It was pretty funny.
I should be saying, hey, what's the name of that movie?
Right. Hopefully that never happens here. But,
especially here.
You never know. All right,
good show,
JB.
big boy.
Thank you, man. See you tomorrow. See y'all tomorrow. See you.
Soul is history that moves you, awakens you, saying